would you move your motion, please?
Thank you, Chairman, for enabling this notice of motion to be brought to full council today, and thank you, Councillor Russell, for your prompt and guidance. And I say to Councillor Walsh there that the importance of things is purely a subjective opinion. I think that this motion is very important. So given my time constraints of 5 minutes, I can only touch on the headlines of why voting for this motion makes sense. It's often difficult on the outside to understand specific experiences of others. We can empathise, we can sympathise, and we can even go as far as to relate. But some situations are difficult to imagine unless you've experienced them directly. And this is the way that it is with discrimination. This is the way it is with discrimination. What is it like to be at the receiving end of stigma and prejudice, often delivered by professionals who have no idea that they think and behave in the way that they do? So I was in care between 1971 and 1988. I was just an infant, and I only recently obtained my file from the local authority where I lived. I had largely blocked out that period in my life. From all of the entries in that file, I want to share with you just two to illustrate the need for this motion to be passed today. Firstly, a week after I turned 18, having spent most of my life in care and having lived in multiple children's homes and foster families across 15 years, someone made the following entry in my file, and I quote, "Paul, over 18 years of age, case closed." So I had been a case. I faced a cliff edge. I was now completely on my own. And the second entry discussed my application to join the RAF at around the same age. My application wasn't progressed. The idea that I could become a pilot or an aircraft engineer, whatever, dismissed. And I never knew the reason why my application didn't progress until just a few weeks ago when I read my file. I had been in care. And I don't say that this was some sort of policy, but the view of the gatekeeper at the recruitment office. Fortunately, the army recruiter appeared to have cared less about this, either that or they were desperate, and I went on to serve in the 5th Airborne Brigade, more widely known as the Paras. At that age, I needed the stability and sense of security the armed forces provided, although I didn't understand it at the time. Josh McAllister's report was published last May following his independent review on children's social care. And the report highlighted present challenges and disadvantages faced by people who have been in care, arguing that children in care are powerless, they're often invisible, and they face some of the greatest inequalities that exist in England today. And one of the many recommendations which came out of the review was to make care experience a protected characteristic. Now, why does this matter? Protected characteristics are attributes such as age, race, and gender, amongst others, and they are covered by the Equality Act 2010 to prevent discrimination. They exist to ensure fair treatment and equal opportunities in settings like work and education, equal opportunities. Stigma and stereotyping, employment discrimination, education barriers, housing issues, unequal access to services, amongst others, are all types of discrimination reported by care leavers. The prejudices are as true today as they were in 1988. Our Director of Children's Services has helpfully shared a briefing note in advance of today's council, so I'm not going to repeat the statistics. One statistic from the McAllister review that wasn't mentioned was that adults who spent time in care between 1971 and 2001 are 70% more likely to die prematurely than those who did not. I think my family might find that news disturbing. We're currently doing a lot in West Sussex, either directly or with our partners. And if you read the Support for Care Leavers report from the House of Commons Library, published almost a year ago on the 20th of October, you would be reassured that this council takes its responsibilities seriously. In lieu of legislation being brought forward in adopting this recommendation, 55 councils have now adopted motions very similar to or the same as the one I'm now proposing. So this signifies the growing acceptance that care leavers and care experienced people do not face a level playing field. The statistics bear this out. By voting for this motion today, we will ensure care experienced young people will be considered in all our equality impact assessments to reduce discrimination, inform decision making, increase collaboration with partners and other bodies, raise awareness, change how people think, and make relevant, reasonable adjustments. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Linehan. Councillor de Bell, I believe you are the seconder of this motion. Do you want to, can I ask you to formally move?
I would like to wait until the end, please, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Oxlade, you have proposed an amendment.
I have, Mr. Chairman, yes.
Would you like to move it, please?
I certainly would. Can I first thank Councillor Linehan for bringing this to full council, and also hearing of your background and everything that you've been through as well. But thank you so much for sharing that. It's always good. A lot of us, for a number of years, have seen exactly how the care system can treat people, but actually experiencing it is a totally different thing. So thanks so much for sharing your experiences.
Councillor Oxlade, I don't want to stop your speech, but I understand Councillor Linehan is happy to accept your amendment.
Shall I shut up then?
No, you can still speak. But
my back's killing me, so it'd be great to sit down.
So I wouldn't dream.
I'm wedged at the moment.
I wouldn't dream of shutting you up. That's not my prerogative. So, Councillor Linehan, am I right in that? Yes. And Councillor de Bell, I think you're. So I think your amendment now is part of the substantive motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So,
thank you, Paul.
So I don't know if you want to speak now or you can speak later.
I'll speak later if that's all right then.
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So would members wishing to speak on this matter please press their microphone buttons now, please. Right, let's take Councillor Opler first, shall we?
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I would say I'm fully in support of the motion before us and the amendment, and completely agree with the core central message of the motion, with the quote from the McAllister report that government should make care experience a protected characteristic. However, sadly, I feel in the dying days of the current government, I find it somewhat unlikely that this is going to become legislation before the next election. I also express sadness that the current government in their 13 years in tenure haven't moved forward with something similar to this before now. Overall, as I said, I support the motion. Yet, what I would say is there's a lot of kind words and the message of concern and support, but I feel care leavers need more than kind words, and there is nothing practical within this motion at all. And I think our care leavers need action, and the reality is that we need to be increasing funding for care leavers, because money does make that action real. It makes it tangible. And on the issue of equal opportunity, I did a little bit of research in the last couple of days and had a look on the West Sussex local offer, which is all very good and a great tool for young people in care and leaving care. However, what was quite clear from that there was very much an emphasis, and I think perhaps a lopsided emphasis, on young people pursuing an academic path. In reality, the majority of care leavers don't necessarily go down that channel. And to give you an example, between 2017 and 2022, care leaver entry into universities was just 14%, in comparison with non-care leavers in 2022 of 47%. So, and again, this is really sort of underlying my feeling is nice words, but we're not doing anything. And so I also, over the years, recall similar motions being brought to council that are just collecting dust, have never actually achieved anything. And this is what we must avoid this time. So I would like to know, in terms of the practical action to make things a level playing field for our care leavers, I would like to know how many care leavers occupy apprenticeships or traineeships within the council organisation, and what percentage do they form of the overall training and apprentice schemes within West Sussex County Council. And I think that would be, and I appreciate it probably will not be able to have that information today, but I think that that is an important piece of information that we should have. What I would also go on to suggest that if this council is serious about supporting care leavers, let us follow the example of Conservative-led East Hampshire District Council. They will top up the existing entitlement for council tax relief to 100% for care leavers up to the age of 25. That is exactly what we should be doing, working with our districts and boroughs in order to support our care leavers in a very, very practical sense. And we could do that. If we had the inclination, we could do that, Chairman. So I would also say there's a joint campaign by the Children's Society and the Children's Commissioner for achieving exactly the same goal. So I support the motion, but don't let it be just words. Let's do some action as well. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Opera. Of course, it's a debate, not question time. So my suggestion is those questions that you asked for, I would write to the Cabinet member to seek those answers, would be my advice. Councillor Hillier, please.
Thank you, Chairman. And I'll be brief. I'm only standing up to speak, as people know, as a previous Cabinet member, and I feel very strongly about this. I think this should have happened many, many years ago, and I welcome it and fully support it. And something, obviously, I wanted to achieve, and this Cabinet member has taken forward, is it's always been about West Sussex being the corporate parent. And now, finally, due to motions that's been put forward, it's now spreading down the local government tree. And I think that's really important. And for me, the ultimate game is the whole of society takes on and realises responsibility for these young people and does all that it can, and where the young people wish it, kind of put our figurative arms around them and give them the support that they need. And also I welcome the amendments earlier in the week as having conversations with colleagues. Again, this is all very well, but what about pushing parliamentarians and others to do it? So I very much welcome and support Councillor Oxlade's amendment and the motion. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lord, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, so I'm standing to support this motion today. We are still, the recent ILACs still only requires improvement, and we're still only requires improvement on the experience and progress of care leavers. And a little bit like Councillor Opler, there is a danger that this notice of motion that I'm sure we're all going to accept today could be seen as doing something, but on its own it's not enough. If